Right, this lesson what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and create a Space Invaders game. Now what we did last lesson was we got characters moving across the screen like this. So what I've got here is I've got a panel, I've got 4 picture boxes up here, and I've got a picture box here that's an on-off button. Now the picture box needs to be an on-off, it needs to be a picture box rather than a button for a reason which will become apparent later on. Now you can see my shapes go a little bit too far at the minute. A little bit of adjustment to your if statement should sort that one out there, but that's what we're trying to achieve. And here I've got a button which turns it on or off, red if it's off, green if it's on. So how have I done this? So here what I've got is I've got 6 objects on the form. If you look down the right hand side you can see the name of those objects there. I've got the form object which I haven't altered at the minute. Now what I've got there is I've got a panel for the game in, which is this yellow panel here, PNL game. I've got then my pick on, which is just a picture box which has, highlight that there, pick on, which is simply the picture box there, and then I have my 4 invaders. I've called that pick I1 for pick invader 1, pick I2, pick I3, pick I4. What I've also got in there is I've got my timer. Now, to make it move, what I'm going to do is I need to turn my timer on and off. And to turn my timer on and off, what I've done is I've done the coding on my button down here, which is picture box, sorry, my picture box here. So if I double click on there, you'll see the code which turns the timer off. So what I've got here is I've got an if statement here. I'm just going to put some comments here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test to see what colour the picture box is. Now here I've got my if statement. Notice I've got my double equal sign because I'm doing a comparison. So what I'm doing is I'm checking to see if the picture box back colour is dark red, and I've put that in single rounded brackets because all if statements need that. Then what I've got in my curly brackets then is I've got an open curly bracket and a close curly bracket of what happens if the picture box if the picture box is dark red. If it is, I want to turn my timer on, so I put timer move dot enabled equals true. If it's not, I'm going to turn it off, so pick on dot back colour is and I've changed the back colour to be green as well, so to show that it's on. Else, notice that I need to have an else with the if statement. It doesn't go by itself. Open curly brackets, close curly brackets, timer enabled equals false, and I've changed the colour back. So here what will happen is we will turn the timer off. Notice my brackets match, so I've got an open and close bracket there, open and close bracket there, the curly brackets do if I want to put multiple lines together, and I've got my rounded brackets around the condition of my if statement. And what that simply will do is when I play that is it simply turns the timer either off or on. Green it's on, red it's off. Now I've got 4 objects that need to move. Now to get those 4 objects to move, what I've done is I've put it on the timer. Now remember, to get the timer, what I need to do is I select the timer from down the right hand side. Now the timer is a hidden component, so it's actually down in components down here, and you can see I haven't quite got my screen big enough, but you can see it's down in the bottom left hand corner there, timer move. So if I double click on timer move, I go to my procedure, which is run when the timer ticks, and currently I've got it so it's going every 100th of a millisecond, so that's effectively every 10th of a second the timer will move. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the X variable, the X coordinate, to actually move my invaders. all my invaders move at the same speed, so the first thing I need to do is create a global variable to store the speed. Now, global variables are the only thing that we're going to put outside a procedure definition. And you can see where I put it is underneath public form 1, open brackets, initialize components, close brackets. What that does is that actually draws your components onto the form. And what I've done is I've set the speed equal to 10, the speed x. Now I don't need a speed y because my invaders don't move up and down, they only move across the screen. Then what I've done is I've created 4 variables for the x position of my 4 objects, 4 variables for the y position. So I've got x position 1, x position 2, x position 3, x position 4. And they relate to my 4 picture boxes, picture box 1, picture box 2, picture box 3 and picture box 4. And what I've done is I've found out the location those are currently on the form. What I've then done is I've done exactly the same for the y conditions. So you need to create those 8 variables there. Now these here are what's called local variables, because they are local to the TMR move tick procedure here and are only used when the timer is actually ticking. So 4 for the x, 4 for the y. Having put those, and make sure you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move my object. So here we go. What I'm doing is I'm going to change the x position of each invader. Now I've got 4 invaders, so I'm changing 4 x positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each time I'm going to add my speed x to it, because I've got the speed the same each time. Now what I'm going to do now is, having decided what the new x position is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide if I need to move. Because if it's off the side of the screen, I actually don't need to move. So here's the condition that I'm going to look at. And I've got an if statement here, I've got an open brackets, a close brackets. Now, I only need to move if I've actually, if I've gone off the screen, or I only need to move down. So here what I'm doing is I'm checking some logic. Now this is the reverse logic to what we're doing, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide if the item is off the screen. So here I've got a condition. If the x position is less than 0, it's gone off the left hand side of the screen. Or if the x position is greater than the panel width minus the width of the picture, it's gone off the screen the other way. Now I'm just looking at pick 1 at the minute. Now you might want to consider whether later on you need to be looking at a different object on the screen to stop all of them going off. Now as I say, this is the reverse logic of what we did the other day, because actually I'm deciding if I'm going to move, I'm going to decide if I'm at the side of the screen. Now if I'm at the side of the screen, I need to reverse the speed. So if I'm going plus 10, I'm going to go minus 10. A minus plus a minus is a plus, so if I'm going minus 10, it'll go the other way. Now, having changed the speed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the position back. So what this will do is I've already moved the x position up here, but actually if I'm at the edge of the screen, what I want to do is I want to move it back. Now, although it's a plus here, which is the same as up here, I've actually changed the value of speed from being a positive to a negative, or if it was a negative, to a positive. So what this does is exactly the reverse of what that does. But what I do need to do is I need to change the Y position of each of the 4 objects, so they will go down. So I only do that, move the Y position and change the X position back if I'm at the edge of the screen. Having done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the picture. Now remember, the set bounds is the item which changes, actually physically moves the item on the screen. So here what I've done is I've got my 4 pictures, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got my 4 X positions, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got my 4 Y positions, 1, 2, 3, 4. The final thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to check to see if my picture is actually, my invaders have got to the bottom of the screen. If the invaders have got to the bottom of the screen, then you lose. So currently I'm looking for the Y position of the first invader. Now whether that's the best one to do or not, I'll let you decide. But here I've done an if statement here to say if the timer enabled equals, if it's gone off the bottom of the screen, I'm going to turn the timer off and I'm going to show a message box. I'll just play that to show what happens. There, we click on the button. Hopefully it'll move. I mean, as I say, I'm probably looking at the wrong invader there to decide whether to actually move down the screen. And here it's moving down. I'll let you see what happens when it gets to the bottom of the screen. You might need to do a little adjustment so these invaders don't go off. You might need to do a little adjustment so that when it gets to the bottom of the screen, when this invader gets to the bottom of the screen, you get the value.